Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everybody to a new show of Up to Date. We have a very important topic we're going to talk about today, which is the telecommunication or the future of the telecommunication technology and information and communication technologies. And it's a very important topic because in today's world, as you know, it is very easy to distribute and attain information. It's simple, easy, and fast. And with the advancements going so faster than that has ever been in this world, it is a very important topic to talk about. We have here today with us Engineer Mansour Al-Abid, who is the board member of Two Share Company. Welcome, Mr. Mansour, to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much.
First of all, would you like to give us a brief about telecommunications in general, what it means and what's its role in this world?
Of course. Actually, nowadays everybody is talking about telecommunication, and all the telecommunication is being changed. We used to know telecommunication as a voice services, and since 50 years we use those services. And for the last 10 years, things been changed. And now everybody was talking about the internet and what internet we're going to do to the community, and not only the community, even the economy now. Recently, people not anymore talking about voice, they're talking about data and what data is going to do and how it's going to impact and affect our daily life. And of course, we're going to go to more topics and what's going to change in human life and also in the economy worldwide because of the people moving to data in general worldwide.
Of course, data has a very important role today. We have, of course, a few topics we're going to talk about today. The first one is big data, of course, which is okay. We'll go to the report, please. Welcome back, everybody. Before we continue on, I would like to remind everybody of our contact information. You can contact us at our email at Gmail, which is ksauptodate@gmail.com. We have our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/uptodate_KSA2, and our Facebook and Twitter for social networks, which is facebook.com/uptodate.ksa2, and for Twitter, it's twitter.com/uptodate_KSA2. Well, first of all, that was a very explanatory video with very surprising facts. And one of the facts that surprised me the most was people in the 1500s, entire lifetime of information we consume in one day.
Yeah.
Is that really true?
Yes, yes. Actually, as you can see from the video clips, we have so many video clips today we're going to show up. And according to those 4 pillars, we're going to talk about 4 pillars today. And
yes.
I'm adding other 4 pillars, but because of the time, we're going to talk only about 4 pillars, which is the big data and cloud computing, mobility,
yes.
and social networks. Those are the pillars are going to change the whole world, and we're going to talk about each one of them.
So,
we talk about the big data.
Yes.
Big data, if you allow me to explain it to the viewers, because everybody was wondering about what is big data. As you can see nowadays, an amount of data we are transmitting over our mobile phones, over internet is huge, and no one organization can collect such data by itself. There is so many organizations, they are collaborating to collect data and analyzing this. For example, I will give you an example about the volume of data. But before that, what is the big data is mean, and how we define big data? Big data has 4 or 5 characteristics. It is the volume of the big data. We cannot call any data as a big data unless it has a huge volume. As you can see from the video clip, we are transmitting over, as of today, 2.3 trillion gigabyte every day.
Which is a very huge number.
It is a huge, to imagine those numbers can be collected. And not only this, to analyze those data is huge, because it consists of video and also of text, images, so many things.
Are there special firms to collect this data?
Yeah, we're going to talk about this, because this is the future, and this is what we need, where we should focus in in the Arab world, and also in here in our country, where we should focus in big data. And by 2020, there is going to be 43 trillion data daily. So it's growing, and this is why we call it the volume. And then the velocity, there is the speed of those data is being transmitted is high. We're talking about the stock market, we're going to talk about health care information, we're talking about sports, so many things related to the data, and the speed of those data has been transmitted and exchanged is huge. And then we talk about verity. Data is not limited to only what people think about is WhatsApp, just text. It consists of videos, images, so many things in there. And I'm considering the most important things among those characteristics or dimension of the big data is the value. Nobody is valuing until now, for these days, and especially in the Arab countries, about the value of the data. And as you can see, the all acquisition now is being done in the world, especially in the worldwide. Amazon, they are acquiring certain companies. Facebook, they are acquiring. We're going to talk about WhatsApp, and so many acquisition. They are acquiring acquisition of the data, and also the people that they are producing the data. They are not acquiring connectivity, or they are not acquiring mobile phones. They are acquiring data. I'm going to talk about in details. I will give example. How much our big data is important. If you go to the market capitalization of a big organization, we know we very well known companies in, for example, in Saudi Arabia, STC very well known,
of course.
Mobily is very known, Zain very well known. If you talk about the capitalization of, for example, STC, it is 32 billion. Etisalat, for example, United Arab Emirates is 19 billion, Mobile is 18 billion, Zain is almost 3 billion. But if you go to Google, which is totally virtualized, and those are traditional, Google is, the market capitalization is over 400 billion US dollar. Amazon is over 165 billion. eBay is over 74 billion dollar. And those are all virtual companies, companies and virtual organization. Their value, because some of them, they are not generating that much of of income and natural revenue or profit as those organizations who I mentioned, those are traditional. But because of the amount of people, amount of data they are collecting, and they are realizing that, because that is considered their value worldwide. And I will give you another, if you allow me an example of some example of big data, so people get. For example, if you go to Tango and Viber and Skype, imagine there is over 2 billion minutes per day are transmitted and used daily, and through those are virtualized, and this is all through what you call it, this is part of the big data. If you go to WhatsApp, and also Line and Kik and WeChat and all those programs that for instant messaging, they are transmitting over 60 billion message per day and over 500 million picture and photo and video per day. If you go to Facebook, there is over 1.5 billion user, and there is also there is over 700 million minutes being used in per month. If you go to Flickr, over 500 million picture. Amazon itself, which is a retail business, they sold over 36 million pieces of goods in per day. And so on. LinkedIn, Twitter, there is over 500 million tweets per day. Those are the big data. It consists of retail, it consists of communication, person to person. It consists of trading, so many things. And this is called big data. And the companies are competing to gain and to win those big data and to reuse this and to sell those data.
I see. Is there a question of morality maybe? Some people might say, do they have the right to keep that kind of data of people and use it for their own purposes and to make more money, of course?
It's a good question, because it's I've been asked this question for so many times. Unfortunately, most of those companies, when they offer something free, the free that you are giving is against your freedom. So they are giving you something free, but your freedom of those data is taken away. So anything free is in front of it, there is something you have to give it away, and they will. And for example, if you click on any application, WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, any application, either on mobile or on internet, nobody, I'm saying nobody, even not here in Arab world, even in non-Arab worlds, in the other worlds, they very rarely you will find people read the term and conditions, because the term and condition is almost 5 or sometimes 15 pages, and it's fine printing, and nobody is reading that they have the rights to sell all information, and they have the right to sell all information that you are posting or transmitting, not all those, even those data you stored and you keep it in mobile, they have the right also to steal it or to take it.
Which you of course agreed on.
Yeah, you agree on it in advance. And this is what we need, is we need an organization to help and to also to educate people on their rights and what they should do over this.
Yes, to put laws against it, of course, because maybe the individual cannot know what's best for him, because in online it's simply easy just to by click of a button you go to a site, you go to a website, but you're agreeing to terms and conditions that you can fight in a court of law, of course. So I think there has to be restrictions on websites. Actually, or maybe warnings, more warnings.
Actually, it's as long people, there is two types of information. There is information, and people, this is what people need to be educated, is that what information should give over the net, over their mobile, and what information should keep. Some people, they go beyond what we're demanding. They give everything that they knows over the net, and then they say, I'm looking for privacy, I'm looking for security. The privacy and security start from the user himself. Whatever you are giving, it means that it's not a computer in front of you or a mobile in front of you. It is a window to the world. Yes, so whatever is putting there or through the windows, yes, maybe you are only the one who see it inside the room, but the rest of the world is seeing whatever you are putting there.
And they're using it for their own
and they're using for their benefits.
Yes. We have another report explaining big data that we can check in a minute. But before we go to the report, I would like to ask, is big data obtainable by the average person? Is there companies that you can subscribe to, you can pay monthly fees to get this kind of data from companies?
Actually, there is, because of the importance and the value of the data, there is so many companies they started, and as just setting up those companies to analyze the big data and start trying to sell it to organizations and to individuals. There is over 100 companies now, they are doing analytics, and those companies linked to, already they have access or they have a contract with big companies. For example, there is company which do analytics, they are already connected to Twitter or Facebook or Google or whatever. And those companies, they build a certain algorithm with certain huge database. Some of them they use Hadoop as Hadoop is a huge system that to analyze the data of trillions of data. And those companies invest on such systems to get access to those data, analyze it, and make it available to the end user. For example, I contacted one of those companies 2 weeks ago to be able to access what people are saying about certain brands over Twitter or Facebook and others. And I get 3 companies, they replied to me, and they said, we're going to charge you around between $16,000 per year until $60,000 per year to give you an access to what people are saying about your brands or about certain person.
For a certain thing only?
Yeah, it's up to you. You choose the word.
Yes.
They will tell you who is the person, who's saying it, when is saying it, where to say, where it's been said. So anything you do over Twitter or Facebook or any of those social media, not only social media, if you go to also Tumblr and also Blogger, there are over 170 million blogs over the net. All those are analyzed. So anybody is linking not only social media, also go to bloggings. Those blogging are also, they are connected to those analytics, because this is where the monies come from. They are giving you something free, but they're selling your behavior, your data, anything you do over the net, they are selling it to other organizations.
Of course.
Even for individual, I have organizations, I can have access and look at what people are saying about anything that I want to analyze.
Which is very frightening today.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is an opportunity. It's not only frightening, some companies they're using it. I will give an example. For example, big companies like Walmart, Tesco, those are big retail companies, airline organization, Qantas in Australia, Tesco, Walmart, many companies, they have access to those data to predict the customer needs and demands and wishes, and also to predict competition, to predict where the market is going. So there is certain company use it. Some other company use it to generate new inventions, new ideas, to collect of those, because you are talking about all the human knowledge base, it's under your fingerprint. So, or whatever you have in your mind, it's in your mobile. So now think about that. As a company, I spend years of thinking about a new invention. Now I can collect those ideas and be in front of other people of the new invention. So whatever you are thinking, whatever you are writing, I have access to it before even you say it to your boss or say it to your friends.
Yes, of course. Of course. We'll just check out another report on big data, and we'll be right back.
So we constantly produce a lot of data. For example, via social media, public transport, and GPS. But it goes way beyond that. Daily, we upload 55 million pictures, 340 million tweets, and 1 billion documents. In total, we produce 2.5 quintillion bytes a day. That's a lot of zeros. It's ridiculous. We call this big data. But what's actually more important is what you can do with it. To process big data, you don't need huge computers. People work with the cloud, an endless network of normal servers, and powerful algorithms. This way, they can analyze over 1 million pieces of data in minutes. And the result? Well, for example, video streaming website Netflix analyzed the big data of their viewers, like popular shows and watching patterns. This way, they produced a successful series with the perfect combination of actors, directors, and storyline. Right now, the big data of traffic is being analyzed to develop a car that can drive completely accident-free all by itself. And in the future, we can even use the big data of DNA to determine the perfect treatment. This way, curing genetic diseases like cancer would become much easier. And that's just the start.
Welcome back, everybody. We just saw another report for big data. Before we continue, I'd like to remind you again for our contact information, our email at update.ksa@gmail.com, our YouTube channel at youtube.com/uptodateksa2, and our Facebook and Twitter for social networking, facebook.com/update.ksa, and twitter.com/updateksa2. That was a very also good report, the driving car by itself. And I liked how they emphasized how other companies are going to not benefit from it, of course, with the losses of other car companies. And maybe that's the reason we haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, actually, I have more examples here than the video that we have, and also have more videos I'm going to mention here, which is that the knowledge sharing and also the getting better education. As you know that a lot of people here and also in worldwide, it was difficult to get the latest of scientists, the latest of technology, the latest of now. Everybody has access to the technology. Everybody has access to science. Everybody has to education. So there is, it is the barrier between the different nations is not anymore there. All nations have access equally to the information. It's now every nation, for example, Arab nations or whatever, they have access to now to those huge information. Now, that nation, it's up to them how they want to leverage themselves to use such information that they have access to it, because there is all the knowledge that they have, those developed country they have, it's already on, this is being shared. It's up to us that we are going to use their entertainment or going to use their latest technology and make use of it. And this is what we need as to educate the whole industry. And also the big data is going to add a huge value to the economy in general. And according to Gartner, there is over almost $2 trillion will be added by 2020 to the economy in general because of the big data utilization and use and the benefit of the whole world. And also part of the big data, I'll give some examples. If you go to even to your home, to the meters, normally the electricity company came monthly to take to read the meter. Now in the developed country they are reading the metering in their home every 15 minutes, and they collecting a huge data about the behavior of homes. And also the part of this data they are giving, they knows that and giving the special prices and also minimizing the cost, so many offers they are giving to their homes because if they're analyzing the behavior and the usage of the home business. The other use, and we saw it already in the video, is that Los Angeles, for example, they are starting predicting the crime 12 hours before the crime is happening.
Which is something we saw in movies in the past.
And it was 20 years, it was in the past. Now, as of today, Los Angeles police, they have a huge big data. Anything happen in Los Angeles, they have access to it. So the 12 hours before crime happening, they are in front of it. And they reduce the crime almost 12%. And other crimes, they reduce it 26%. And they're going to apply it in over 150 cities in the United States. Other use, which is very important for the big data, which is the chronic disease. And you say that so many people, they have diabetes, they have heart attack, and so many things. And according to the report from one of well-organized McKinsey, there is over $15 trillion being spent by 2025 just for the healthcare for chronic disease. And to overcome those, we need to utilize and use big data to predict and also to help those who have chronic disease, and to, especially we're going to talk about wearable devices and how to connect wearable devices, and also distance diagnosis and all of that as part of the equation. And recently, we saw Google. They acquired a company called Nest, which is a startup company. It's only less than 3 years old, for over $3 billion US. And what Nest is do, they have a special device that you put it at home, and remotely you control the air conditioning. See how simple is the application, and how much is being sold to Google. And because of Nest, they are selling over 40,000 to 50,000 devices to homes. And Google, they want to access to homes. Yeah. And they knows when you are at home, when you are in home, and what they can add, because the future is to Internet of Things. I'm going to talk about it later. But Google buy this company because of the data, because of the future is going to the Internet of Things, and all things that we are seeing and we are using are going to be connected to somewhere or how to the Internet.
Yes, and we've seen most companies today, like Microsoft with their Xbox Connect, with the camera and the voice recognition, with Sony with their PlayStations, and their devices are connecting. Hey, they want you to buy all their devices and use all their devices.
Yeah, yes, yes, exactly, yes. Yeah. And they're saying that about the future of retail, it is about the knowing the history of your customer. And you cannot do this without big data and analyzing analytics of big data. Now, most of the companies that we know is in our recent here, and especially in the Gulf, you will get loyalty card. But the loyalty card is available in the market. It's only to give you discount. You never find companies that came to you and say they predict what is you would like to buy next month, what is your children favorite, what is your wife favorite, what is your home look like, and what is you are going to buy a new home, so they will predict what offer you. So with big data, you will have the history of your customers, and you will be able to this. Some of the big retail, for example, in United States, I'm not going to mention name anymore. They are predicting if your wife is pregnant, and when they will gonna deliver. So they will bring you special offers, and they bring product even to your home. So this is how they use big data. Yes. It's not about just loyalty card that for discount. They are going beyond that. Is to manage you, to see your history, and also what you are thinking. Prediction. Yeah. All those things.
Okay. Another term. That's also, we can call it maybe a buzzword, is the cloud computing. When we say cloud, we always think about cloud storage in the form of Dropbox, SkyDrive, and maybe Google Drive also.
Yes.
But what exactly is cloud computing?
Actually, the cloud, it means that you are using something out of your hard disk, out of your computer, after mobile. For example, when you use WhatsApp, or you use WeChat, or you use Telegram, or you use Facebook over your desktop, you are not utilizing your computer at all. All this is done through somewhere which is called the cloud. Facebook, they have a huge data center. Google, they have hundreds of data centers, 1,000 and 10,000 of servers. They make it available for your comfort. Whenever you go, you just log in and access to that cloud. This is what they call cloud. There is a huge data centers with a huge infrastructure, with a huge software to analyze all those applications and make it those applications available to you through your mobile or through desktops to be used. This is called the cloud. And the cloud is the base of the big data, because without cloud, you will not be able to have big data. Cloud is make the startups and also big organizations that are the same in approaching big, let's say, the worldwide. For example, if you are a startup, you want to produce or you want to initiate an application for the cloud in general worldwide, you before you invest a huge money to be able to connect and also to access all these. Now you have, for example, Google Play as a store. You have you have Apple Store, you have the cloud, which is storing Facebook or whatever. You put your before you was going and paying for hosting for your web page. Now Facebook is going to host your web page, and totally you have a web page ready with Facebook, all the plugging. Your application is totally hosted now with either with Apple, with Google, or Amazon, or whatever they have their own store. So you're not going to invest. You don't need to invest to build your servers, and also to manage those servers and to manage the application. All that. All it needs just to set up the application and install it there. It will be available.
And the platform is ready for you.
A platform is ready for you, and all what you need is that to work in the marketing and selling through social of your whatever you implement.
We have a report about cloud computing. We will watch it and we'll be right back.
You have big ideas to streamline your business and drive sales through the roof. But to get there, your ideas need business apps. And business apps have always been too expensive, especially in times like these. Behind each one is a world of complexity. They need a data center with office space, power, cooling, bandwidth, networks, servers, and storage. A complicated software stack, and a team of experts to install, configure, and run them. You need development, testing, staging, production, and failover environments. And when there's a problem, good luck. You call technical support, and they don't know, so they blame someone else. Oh, and when new versions come out, you would upgrade, but that might bring the whole system down. Now, this is for one app. When you multiply these headaches across dozens or hundreds of apps, it's easy to see why the biggest companies with the best IT departments aren't getting the apps they need. Small businesses don't have a chance. Cloud computing is a better way to run your business. Instead of running your apps yourself, they run on a shared data center. You just plug in, like a utility. This makes it fast to get started and it costs less. It's like Gmail compared to Microsoft Exchange. With Gmail, do you need servers and storage? No. Do you need a technical team to keep it up and running? No. Do you have to do upgrades? No. When you use any app that runs in the cloud, you just log in, customize it, and start using it. That's the power of cloud computing. This model is so much better, it's changing the way we think about software. Not just for consumer apps, it's also being used for business apps. We call this enterprise cloud computing. Businesses are running all kinds of apps in the cloud these days, including custom-built apps. Why? Because you can be up and running in a few days, which is unheard of with traditional business software. They cost less because you don't need to pay for all the people, products, and facilities to run them. And it turns out they're more scalable, more secure, and are more reliable than the vast majority of apps out there. Here's why. They're based on an architecture called multi-tenancy. With a multi-tenant app, there isn't a copy of the app for each business that's using it. It's one app that everyone shares. But it's flexible enough for everyone to customize for their specific needs. It's like a giant office building where everyone shares the infrastructure and services, like security, yet each business can customize their own office space. This means apps are elastic. They can scale up to tens of thousands of users or down to only a few. Upgrades are taken care of for you, so your apps get security and performance enhancements and new features automatically. Now, the way you pay for cloud apps is also different. Forget about buying servers and software. When your apps run in the cloud, you don't buy anything at all. It's all rolled up into a predictable monthly subscription, so you only pay for what you use. Finally, cloud apps don't eat up your valuable IT resources, so your CFO will love it. And you can focus on projects that really impact the business, like deploying more apps. Cloud computing is a simple idea, but it can have a huge impact on your bottom line.
Welcome back, everybody. We just saw a report for cloud computing. We are here with our guest engineer, Mansour Al-Ubaid. Cloud computing looks very nice, but maybe can be a little bit scary for some people. Do you think there are security issues or maybe privacy issues by using cloud computing instead of traditional computing?
Actually, the security is depends on the cloud itself and which cloud you're going to select. Some clouds are very restricted on security, and it's about your recommendation and your needs. But in general, the security is there. It's up to you to choose among those thousands of data centers, cloud computing, which one to select. And as you can see, so many, all the government now moving to cloud computing. E-government, it's actually cloud computing. If there is security is not there, e-government will not gonna work. Most of the enterprise now worldwide, they are moving to, for example, the top 100 organization in the United States, almost 90% of them, they are already on cloud computing, and they are using cloud computing. And the way they use computing, they are part of the data is already in the cloud, and they are also, because cloud computing, there is two types of cloud computing. There is a private, there is a public. And you can integrate both of them to make some of your data is available to the public, some of them is available only to those that you want them to use. I will give you some example of good things that how cloud computing can be used. And in general, people, they like statistics, but let me talk about one statistics which is very important. The overall cloud computing growth rate is 5 times more than overall IT. So you can see the growth is all required to the cloud computing. So you don't need, for example, I'll give an example. 5 years from now, one of the bigger consultant company, they predict that cloud computing and also mobility will cut cost of big organization. For example, you don't need to bring your they're not gonna buy for you a desktop or anything, because there is standard code, bring your own device or do it yourself. So you will have your own device, or what they provide you security, and you will have your device, your mobile, or a phablet, or laptop, or tablets with you at home or at work. So they're not going to provide you any more desktop. This will cut cost in organization, not because most of the organization, they have to update and they have to pay license and so many things for the computers or the tablets or laptops for their employees. Not anymore. In 5 years, most of the employees, they will have their own computers. And the beauty of the cloud computing, anybody can build his own cloud and to make his businesses available to the cloud. And I will give another example, which is opportunities for a startup or to businesses. I allocate, because I run a study around 80 pages about the industry, but I will give you an example. If you go to the media and in general and entertainment, you can do a cloud computer. Social, you can do a cloud computing. In sales and in marketing and advertising, can do cloud. In publishing, in retail, and also I have example. In each one of those, there is a huge social network being built on cloud computing on those subjects in this area. For example, as for businesses, we have Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a huge.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, it's for people to crowdfunding or crowdsourcing. Yes. We have LinkedIn. We have Yammer. Yammer is being bought. It's like Facebook, but it's only for businesses. It's being acquired by Microsoft almost 3 years ago for $1 billion. There is multiplayer games like Zynga, which is acquired by Facebook. There is so many applications you can build the cloud computer. So there is no limit as an entrepreneur or as a business or as that for when there is so many areas you can invest and you can play on it and to go to the crowd over the net. I'll give you a very bright example of a person that been mentioned in forums. They said one man, one computer. It's one man, one computer with 10 million students. And that person is in India, lived in United States, and in 2006, and he was studying mathematics in the United States. His name is Salman Khan, and one of his relatives, she asked him to teach her children mathematics, and she said, please, can you do it remotely? What he did explain about mathematics over a video, and then he posted it on YouTube. Guess what? Within a few months, that video clip is being sold by millions of people.
Wow.
And even Google, they invest with him over $2 million, and he pulled him from his job, and he's been dedicated now just to produce educational video, and that way he is educating over 10 million as one person worldwide. And this is the beauty of cloud computing.
Yes.
in teaching and learning, or distant learning, and so many, and you can, and he initiated an academy called Khan Academy, and it's been very popular now among the internet. And this is the how to use cloud computing for the benefit of the crowd.
And that may be just one example of a success story in that field. And you mentioned mobility with the cloud computing. What do you mean exactly by mobility?
Mobility is it is the buzzword, because anything we do is in mobility. For example, your mobile, it's a mobility. You carry it all the time. Your car is mobility. Now, mobility means that I will be able to provide you the devices that while you are in mobility, I will be able to give you access to information or access your information. So I can give you access and access to you. So it's a two-way. For example, anything that you are going to do, I have devices for it. For example, we have now, last week, there is the Mobile World Congress. Mobile World Congress is about GSM in Barcelona. They were talking about many things. One of them is contactless, wearable. Wearable was one of the hot issues. They talk about wearable because it's related to mobility. That things that you are wearing, either as a watch or a band or under the clothes, or it's embedded in your own body, these are mobility. Or they talk about Internet of Things. That things that anything you are imagining will be connected to the Internet, and this is why mobility, cars, anything that you imagine, will be connected to the net, and it will be on mobile. And mobility means that you will have an access to the internet somewhere or somehow.
I think when we talked about mobility and maybe cloud computing, there's maybe a risk here. It's being always connected. That's a major risk in this world, when you know that electricity, just by electricity turning off, everything is lost.
Yes.
What is there solutions for this kind of risk? Is there plan Bs maybe? What happens if it shuts down? Just shuts down.
Actually, it's nothing is perfect 100%. Everything has risk in it, and the risk is should be measurable. For example, if you're talking about critical information, because there is some information called is critical, the other information not critical is general. If you're talking about for example, electricity has, when we talk about smart metering, the metering is just only reader, but we are not talking about shutting up of the electricity. For example, it's reading the electricity. When you have no power at home, it means that you have your own redundancy, or the government should be redundant. The same thing is in the mobility. Most of for your mobile, when you use it, is if it's run out of the power, it means they're going to recharge it. And that's why other companies, they said, I'm going to give you a stand-up battery or built-in stand-up battery. And those are the risks that it will be there. And the most important that we managed, how to manage the risk, is that the loss of data. Those data should be kept even if the power is shut off. And this is what the beauty of the cloud computing and the redundancy and security is, how to secure, how to store, and how to maintain, and how to restore those data once you are out of power or whatever happened to you.
I see. We have a report on mobility that will explain it a little bit more. But before we go on to the report, these wearable new technologies, do you think it will catch on, or do you think it's just a phase that companies are going through and it will just fade away?
No, actually, the wearable is the future. All the companies are moving to, and it's moving to because of the simplicity and the minimization of the electronics and also the gadgets. The gadgets become very minimal. Even you can embed it under your skin, and also you can wear it. So all of the wearable, it will be part of the future of the crowd information collection and also interaction. And most of even wearable, this is something you wear. Even for retail, all goods you see in the market will be connected somewhere else. For example, Apple, they have something called iBeacon or a beacon. That is, it is a technology. When you go inside the retail, your mobile start analyzing and start detecting all the goods it's available, and whenever you buy a goods, it's already been registered. And also already when you go to cashier, you don't need to pay. Already your mobile is taking care of the payment. So these are part of connecting anything. For example, for elder people, for those who have chronic disease, you cannot manage their situation, their health without wearable. Under a skill or a wrist or a watches, you will be able to manage and also to monitor and to give them better treatment. And even if you are away from home or from work at work, then you will be able to comfort that you are monitoring them rather than that worrying about them. So wearable will be there, and it will be the future. And it is, and you see in the Mobile World Congress last week, there is a huge competition. Huawei, LG, Samsung, each one of them, they brought their new ideas or their ideas of wearable, and we will see more. Even now, the glasses of Google, it is it's coming up with the cameras that, and this is according to the privacy. It has a camera inside. So whenever, yes, I'm connected to Google, but the camera is actually recording and everything. So be careful when you see somebody has a Google glasses. He is actually recording and videoing you. So this is a part of the privacy issues, and this is what even the watches, which is the part of the wearable, it has a small tiny camera inside it. So if you see somebody has a watch, that smartwatch,
so especially just looking at
think about the camera it's in there. So you need to, wearable is good. It's as if it's used for the human benefit, but can be used also for bad issues. I mean,
yes, of course. We have to be cautious about that and every new technology that comes out.
Actually, yes.
We will watch the report on mobility, and we'll be right back.
It took 22 years for the first 2 billion people to connect to the internet. The next 2 billion users will come online within the next 5 years. 80% of these people will come from emerging markets, and potentially 95% of them will access the internet with a mobile device. In fact, there may be 50 billion devices online worldwide by 2020, many of which will connect to each other. What will happen when you put the knowledge of all humanity in the pocket of 1.7 billion people who have never had access to information before? What will happen when everyone and everything that can be connected to the internet is connected to the internet? Disruption. Mobility is already changing our personal lives. The smartphone is now an alarm clock, digital camera, gaming device, audio player, a GPS receiver, a device to control your home, a fitness monitor, and a medical diagnostic device. Mobility is changing how we work. Pilots now use tablet-based flight manuals. Companies use augmented reality for training, and retailers use mobile devices as cash registers. 88% of consumers use a mobile device for both personal and work purposes, yet only 45% of companies have a security strategy for personal devices in the workplace. Mobility is beginning to disrupt every industry. For example, self-driving cars could disrupt the $2.3 trillion U.S. auto industry, including $450 billion in accident-related costs, $500 billion in new and used car sales, $200 billion in auto insurance, $200 billion in energy costs. Will the taxi and truck driver eventually fade away like CDs, newspapers, and magazines? How will mobility disrupt your industry? Join the conversation at the Exchange.
Welcome back, everybody. These are huge numbers from mobile phones and mobility in general. And what scares me is it said 95% in the next few years will be connected through the internet by phones and mobile phones. So do you think mobility and mobile phones like smartphones and whatnot are phasing out traditional PCs, and is software development shifted that way also?
Actually, we have a new term called phablet, which is merging between tablets and phone.
Yes.
And you will see so many, because by the end, all the software now, Windows and also Android or iOS, all of these are competing for the share of those devices. And each one of them, they will put anything that relate to their device and the software and application to the hand of the human being. So they are competing on phablet, tablets, mobile phones, smart mobile phone. So all of these will be merged, and by the end you will have I'm not that small, little devices that you can carry, and everything you can do it. If not your hand, you can do it by your speech, by eyes, by waving and moving. Even they are thinking about, even they build a small chip inside your head, and then even through your eyes or through your thinking, computer will. So there is so many things can be done. You will see it in the future, especially from the computer wise and from the tablets and phablet wise. The size. There is competition in the size and the slim and the visibility of it. I will give some. One of the big use of mobility is the telework and telecommute, because of as you see that because of the mobility and because of the broadband and data availability worldwide, and it is moving very fast. Many companies now, they said, we don't want you to come to the work because it's cost to us. We have to allocate space, we have to allocate computers, and also we have to pay for the transportation. There's so many companies. I'm thinking about Japan and also in Europe and the States. They applying the telework concept, and we hope inshallah recently in Saudi Arabia will be applied also. And also some companies in Saudi already they are applying it for some jobs. We talk about in the United States there is over 100 jobs that they are doing totally done over telework. Even in the United States, part of their regulation now, because of the economy and also for the health and or for the nature and all of that, it's mandatory that the organization should have part of their job at telework. If a woman want to work at home, they have the right to work at home if she had the children. This is in the United States, and this is inshallah going to happen in Saudi Arabia, that the woman that had children has the right to work, because of the broadband is there, the mobility is there, the internet is there, and the cloud is there. So I will be able to access.
More cost effective to be.
Yeah, and there is 1 of every 5 employees worldwide, they are working apart from their office, and this is the opportunities for us here in Saudi Arabia and also in the Arab, especially in Saudi. They predict that by year 2015, within 3 years, will be over 4 million jobs available worldwide related to social computing, cloud, and big data, and only 1/3 of that will be filled. So you will talk about around 2.5 million to 3 million jobs will be available in those areas. So this is where our economy, our industry, our education should be focused in those areas, because this is where the jobs will go. I will give you other examples related to mobility, which is just an example of successful companies, which is people like to hear about. There is a company doing fitness, wearable fitness, and called Map My Fitness, which is, you can search on the net, it's called My Fitness. They produce bands that the athletes they are wearing. They get over 20 million users. Recently, within a few months, it's been acquired by a retail company. They're selling athlete clothes for $150 million. So you think about the startup companies, they are just producing wearable for athletes. They able to get 20 million and being acquired by a company for 50 million. Sorry. There is another company which is also in a state called Uber. UBER. They build an application for taxes. You will be able to allocate taxes and how far is the taxes and all of that. And it's been started with 75 employees because they collect all the location of those taxes and collect the information of taxes.
Yes.
And now they are covering over 35 cities. And they generate over 125 million US dollar, and their value as of today is over 3 billion US dollar.
Which is a very big
Just
number.
an application
Yes.
that for
Yes.
taxes.
Speaking of value, we of course saw WhatsApp being bought by Facebook, and while we're talking about Facebook, our last topic for today is social networking.
Yes.
What do you think personally about social networking first?
Social network is actually it's the I'm calling it the suite of those all these things that we are talking about, because without socials, people will not be able to share knowledge, not to share even wishes, share needs. All of these things is done through social, and it is up to us that how to use social. Is it bad or good? It's the social is there, and this is. Unfortunately, this is I'm calling it that in every countries, big countries. I'll give you, for example, you mentioned WhatsApp. WhatsApp has been originated in the United States. In other countries, for example, in Russia, they originated a software called Telegram. It is Russian software, Telegram, and owned by a company similar to Facebook. It is Facebook. They bought WhatsApp because they want to strengthen their position in mobile. VK, it's a social similar to Facebook in Russia. In Russia, they have over 230 million subscribers, as like Facebook. They also connected to Telegram, so it's the same concept. In Japan, they have a software called Line. In Korea, they have something called Kakao, and every you will find every big company of those countries, they have their own software because they care about the data of their people,
course, yes.
And they want to maintain their data. And the other thing is not about also building the application, it's also building the structure for that application. For example, what we lack often, the Arabs, is the huge data centers and huge cloud computings. And also, there is some companies already, they have their own, they mentioned that they have data centers and also cloud computing, but the cost to be connected to those is huge. If you compare it to, for example, go to United States or Europe or to other countries, if you want to get to access to cloud computing, compare the cost there to be connected, if you have a software hub or an application connected there, compare it to the prices that being given in the Arab world in general. It's huge, and this is the barrier, and this is what we need to be done in the Arab. If we want to succeed, we have to lower the cost, and also we should not focus about the cost of data center, cost of the information that collected data center and will be residing within the country.
This is something we have to work on, especially. Thank you very much, Mr. Mansour, for being with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today, and thank you for watching, and I wish you a great rest of the week.
Thank you very much. Thank you.